Alright, hi everyone. Welcome to another interesting video that I have for you. I recorded this video before, but apparently I was not recording the audio. I just found out now that I didn't record the audio, so I have to do this all over again. So let's do it very quickly. If you're using Cursor, you need to take a pause and let's talk about this new AI vulnerability that's currently has been going around for them. So there's a company called MindGuard, and what they do is to fix and find and fix AI vulnerabilities. And I can imagine that this is a very important thing to do, because with AI on the increase, there's a lot more bugs and issues that have come into code bases and come into systems that exist. So Aaron from MindGuard had put out a LinkedIn post in December saying, "Can anyone put me in touch with a security contact at Cursor?" I believe this should probably be February, or January or February, because it's 6 months. I sent a vulnerability report to their team in December on the 18th, and I haven't heard back from them. Someone tagged Tom Daniels, who is the CISO. I don't know if it's the current CISO. Let's check. And he didn't respond. I don't know how well he uses his LinkedIn. I also don't know how active the email address that is there is. According to LinkedIn, he's still the CISO of it. 500 connections seems like someone who is not so active on Cursor. I might be wrong, but that's what I think. Right? So let's continue with the actual report itself on what exactly this bug is. So it's a day zero bug, meaning that it's inexploited by bad actors, and it's not being found out by the company that built it until MindGuard decided to blow the whistle, because they were not getting responses from Cursor. Right? It says that the bug is simple. A developer opens a repository in Cursor on Windows, and if the repository contains a malicious git.exe in the project root, Cursor will execute it automatically with no clicks, prompts, approvals, or warnings. All you need to do is just open that project in Cursor, and if there's a file that is named git.exe, if the file is a malicious one, it will automatically run. If it's a good one, it will automatically run. So the issue is that you really would not know when it's going to be malicious or not, and which is why it's important to pay attention to this. It was first identified December 15, and it was reported to Cursor on that same day, and many times after it has attempted to also report to Cursor. Interestingly, more than 6 months and 197 versions later, the issue is still present. Now, my concern is Cursor cannot tell me that it is it's a skill problem, because you have talented people definitely working on Cursor to have built that great product. But it's almost 200 new versions later, and it's not been fixed. It's either a people or process problem at this point, and it's something that I find across many other large organizations. It's always slower than in the startups, because I've worked across both. It seems like it's a thing that enterprise Windows can manage better. By the way, it's also a Windows problem, and I wonder why more problems exist in Windows than in the Mac ecosystem. If anybody has that answer, please drop in the comments. Maybe because it's a bit more open. I'm not exactly sure why it's like that. Let me just check in my audio. Okay, I can see that my audio is still recording, so that we don't repeat the same thing next time. Alright, so for the enterprise Windows systems, they can just use Windows App Control and deny with policies. They can create policies that just deny execution of certain named files in their workspace directories. Or for consumer systems, until the IDE is patched, open untrusted repositories only in isolated virtual machines, sandboxes, and disposable environments. I would even say that you stop, pause, and move to a more stable IDE, except that you're locked into the Cursor ecosystem and paying for the AI subscription. But I particularly use VS Code, because it's the most stable, and Cursor is a clone of VS Code. Even Anti-Gravity is a clone of VS Code. And for Anti-Gravity, my colleague complains a lot about how it takes a lot of compute on the system. I still use Gemini subscription, by the way, but I use it more on the anti-gravity CLI than the anti-gravity GUI, because I found out that it takes a lot more tokens when you're using the GUI than on the CLI. It just happens to last longer on the CLI than the GUI, so it's very interesting. Let's look a bit more about the bug and see the example that MindGuard used. It says that if an attacker planted a malicious git.exe in the root, Cursor would automatically execute it without any warning or approval. And to demonstrate this issue safely, MindGuard used the harmless proof of concept, the Windows calculator application. They renamed it to git.exe and placed it in the root in the repository, and they launched Cursor against the repository, and the screenshot below shows the results. Let me open the screenshot in another page so you can see it. This is the Windows application, almost 9 instances, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 9 instances, and definitely no more if you look at the left, and then for Cursor as well, that is running, and it just pops up so many times, meaning that it's just executing it by itself. This is not something that should be taken lightly, and I wonder why Cursor still has not fixed it. I saw a Reddit conversation. I also saw a conversation on a forum on Cursor. Let me read what this community support engineer said. He says that you might have seen MindGuard's reports describing a vulnerability in Cursor. When you place a git.exe in the repository root, after reviewing this report, we determined that it was out of scope for bug bounty program. And when organizations respond like this, sometimes I'm bothered. It feels like you're trying to deflect. This might be true as a statement of fact, but it doesn't take away the fact that 197 versions later, with real users using and paying for your solution, that bug has not been fixed. And he says something here again, that issues that depend on compromised or malicious inputs already been present in that context generally fall under out of scope bug bounty program, like he said. However, we did not close the loop with the researcher in a timely manner, and we take responsibility for that. We are addressing this as a matter of process moving forward. Now, are they saying that it's a process issue, or are they saying that if they had closed this, or they should have closed this loop with the researcher in a timely manner? If they had closed it in a timely manner, will it still have been fixed or not? Which is where the issue is right now. I'm wondering it to be fixed. I feel like Cursor is going to silently fix it, but they might not want to give credit or come out to admit it publicly. But let's watch out for that. And lastly, let's look at the Reddit conversation. I just have about 2 different posts that I find interesting that we can read. This is concerning: if you open or browse somebody else's compromised repository, Cursor will immediately execute the payload without any questions. And if you didn't read the article, they renamed calculator to git.exe and put it in the repository, open into Cursor, and then the calculator popped up. It is what we're saying. Imagine that you find a GitHub repository very interesting on GitHub and you wanted to just try it out. And you just get it in your system, and there's a git.exe file that is malicious that launches. What it means is that it's going to launch immediately if you get it into your system, and if it's malicious, you fall victim of it. Second one is this guy that says, this is absolutely horrible. It is a very straightforward bug, and Cursor not fixing this means that they simply do not care at all. It can't be hard to fix. I agree. It's a very straightforward hotfix. I agree too. And it seems like this would also still happen before you even decide to trust the code base. Yes, this should be a no-go for any thinking company, regardless of which operating system they use. If this 0-day bug exists, which is absolutely trivial to fix, I can guarantee that there are not 10 others, but 100, probably half of them that got into the mailbox unread, absolutely incomprehensibly reckless. And I agree with this guy. Because AI is building a lot more of our systems and writing a lot more code, there's going to be a lot more bugs that are going to come into the system. So it means that we need to up our game in terms of security, and as fast as possible fix issues where necessary before they compound and compound and compound. If not, you have a lot of technical debt and sometimes security threats to a big system that you've been preserving. The users are always supposed to be taking care of course they're paying the bills. Sometimes the company is not making profit, but without these users, they're going to be making a lot more loss. So I think that Cursor needs to take a look at it. But for myself, I'm going to be staying off Cursor for now. And for those that also have doubts, also stay off it. And this has been it on this conversation. I hope that this was an interesting conversation. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to definitely bring you more interesting conversations very soon. Take care. Bye.